Hey guys, thanks for coming to the channel. Today I want to talk about tournament fishing, fishing in general, but tournament fishing especially, and what it takes to be a successful tournament fisherman. And a lot of you are thinking a lot of different things, but I want to go through it systematically here to help you guys understand the things that it takes to be successful. Because, success comes in different forms. Some people think success is win at all costs, and some people think that only win on your own merits. But you can win different ways, but are you satisfied with that? Well, first of all, let's talk about beginners. Beginners are not really considered, tournament fishermen. These are guys that just like to go fishing. They like to put some, fish on the table for dinner or different things, and they're not really concerned about competition. They don't know a lot yet. They're learning. They got a lot of it, a lot of drive to go fishing every chance that they get. We've all been there at some time or another. But you really can't consider beginners tournament fishermen, even though they may enter some tournaments and may get drawn as a co-angler with some people and learn some things. And that's all good. And then you have your novice fishermen who've been doing it for a while. Maybe they've joined a bass club. They're gaining some knowledge as they go along, learning different techniques, fishing with different people who specialize in different things, fishing different bodies of water where they can learn to fish shallower, deeper, top water, on the bottom, in between, different seasons and all those things. And they're feeling pretty comfortable. Hey man, I'm going to maybe enter some local buddy tournaments or maybe go ahead and enter a BFL. And then you get to the place where you have tournament fishermen. And now, just because you're a tournament fisherman doesn't mean you're a good fisherman. Right? Some people just enter tournaments because they like to fish, and they're maybe not be very good. And some people are really good that enter tournaments, And a lot of times people that enter tournaments, they start with buddy tournaments, maybe go to like BFLs, and if, their money and time allows them to, they'll fish maybe some opens and try to qualify for the elites. Now, all that being said, in every tournament scene, you've got different grades of fishermen. You got the guys that work real hard, you got the guys that network, and you got the guys that poach, basically. And what do I mean by that? Well, you got the guys that go out there and they try to learn for themselves. They take different techniques, they go to different areas, they try to fish different times a year, and they do it on their own. And so they learn. And they learn for themselves, and they're probably in the long run going to be the most successful fisherman. If you count on somebody else to tell you where to fish, when to fish, and what to throw, if I told somebody, if I went out to a certain body of water, and I'm an expert on that body of water, and I told somebody where to go, when to be there, and what lures or techniques to throw at that time of year, you don't have to be a very good fisherman to catch them. If I told you there's an underwater ridge on this body of water that this time of year, sometime after the sun's up till about noon, they're biting there really good. If you throw a Carolina rig with a green pumpkin lizard on it and just stay there, you'll do well. And you go there and do that, you're going to catch fish and you're going to do well. But does that make you a good fisherman? No, doesn't make you a good fisherman. That makes you a copycat, basically. So if I didn't tell you that, you probably wouldn't do very well, for example, unless you went out and did it yourself or got it from somebody else. So here's what happens. I fished the opens for a couple years here and had some decent success. Had a 3rd place and a 5th place, in a couple years, and that's pretty good. Did it on my own. Didn't ask for, pretty much any help at all. Went and figured it out and did pretty good. Other tournaments I didn't do pretty good. But in the opens, for example, of these open anglers, a good portion of these open anglers are locals on the particular body of water that you're fishing. So they have a lot of local knowledge, a lot of local connections. And then there's another good portion of the open anglers who network. They have connections with people who are either local or have a lot of knowledge or waypoints on a particular body of water, and they use that knowledge to help get them steered in the right direction. And then there's another group of anglers who, when they enter an open or a tournament, they just drive around and look to see where all the boats are. And then they kind of get down in those areas and start to fish. So that's the three kind of fishermen that you have. And what happens here is, you know, when you get in the opens, you can do well by networking, getting inside information, and going and seeing where the boats are, and you can do well, and you may even qualify for the elites. But then when you get to the elites, you know, we see a lot of these open anglers who go to the elite series and they do terrible. They do absolutely terrible. And what I'm going to tell you is the reason they do absolutely terrible in the elite series, but they do really good in the open series, that's a straight up telltale for how they got to the elite series. They networked, got inside information, used their connections to figure out where the fish were. And see, when you get to the elites, it's off limits. Or something else they did, some of the hard workers, for example, you know, I know of guys who spent weeks, if not a month, pre-fishing for every open. You know, when you get into the elites, then you can't do that. You're cut off for 30 days, and then you get 2.5 days of practice beforehand. So you just can't do that in the same necessary season that you're fishing the tournament. So you got to figure it out when you're there. So the truly great fishermen are the ones who you can turn them loose on a body of water with 2.5 days of practice. And of course, they got a lot of experience on different bodies of water all over the country. And they'll go out and figure these fish out in a couple days because they know seasonal patterns, what they should be biting this time of year, parts of the lake or river that they should be in, and how to time it properly to catch those fish. And then we find that the networkers and the poachers don't do well in the elites because they no longer have that crutch to lean on when they get there. And I could name names, but I'm not going to. But you see some very well-known pros who were very well known in maybe the FLW series or very good years ago when it was the top 150, that when they changed the rules in the elite to no information, that they went from, you know, regular contenders with a chance to win a tournament now and again to pretty much at the bottom of the pack in almost every tournament. So that tells you what's going on. So the purpose of this video is this. If you want to be a great angler, and some of you, sad to say, some of you will never be a great angler. You just don't have the hand-eye coordination. You just don't have the processing ability that this would be your specialty, the thing that you're best at in the world. You know, like Jacob Wheeler. Jacob Wheeler, for example, has the processing ability, the hand-eye coordination, the retention, visual acuity to retain things that he sees, and the understanding of everything about fishing that makes him a great angler. He'd be a great angler no matter what. Some of us will never be a great angler, but if you want to be a great angler, you're never going to be a great angler if you're depending on somebody else to tell you where to be, when to be there, what to throw this time of year, or if you're driving around looking for where the people are fishing, or you're listening to the dock talk where they call them here and they call them there, and then you want to run to all those places and catch those fish. You'll never be a great angler. You might win some tournaments. You might win some tournaments because you got put places, but you'll never be a great angler unless you do it yourself, figure it out yourself, and don't depend on everybody else. So that's my 2 cents on the whole tournament scene. Thanks for watching, and have a blessed day.